Welcome along to the next video in our series where we are creating a website for the Queensland Firebirds. In our previous two videos we got most of the HTML all written up, and what we're going to do now is start styling our web pages up using CSS. Now before we get stuck into the CSS, what I want to do is link all of our 4 pages together. Okay, so back over in brackets, what I need you to do is I want you to find the unordered list section towards the top of each page. Okay, I'm on the index page to start with. Now in the unordered list section here, now that we've got all 4 pages created, we can actually make these hyperlinks work. Okay, so inside the li tags of the home link, I want you to write in pointy brackets and write ahref equals and link it to the index page. Close your pointy bracket. I want you to cut out the closing a tag and put it at the end after the word home. Okay, so the link goes around the word home. Then we go down to the next line where we've got team just before the letter T. I want you to write ahref equals and select team.html. That will link that up to the team web page. Cut out the closing a tag and put it after the word team, so you've got a link around the word team. We'll do the same thing for fixture, so ahref equals fixture.html. Close off the pointy brackets and put the closing a tag after the word fixture. Finally, we've got the contact page that we will link up to contact.html. Just remember to close your pointy brackets, cut out the closing a tag and put it after the word contact. If you save that up now and have a look in your preview window, you can see that you've got 4 hyperlinks. Okay, and if you were to click on those, it would take you over to the other pages. The other pages aren't linked up yet though. Okay, so what I want you to do is simply copy and paste these li tags onto all 4 pages. So I'm going to copy that from the index page by pressing Ctrl C, go over to the team page, and I'll Ctrl V to paste that in. Fixture page. We're just deleting these li tags that are originally there and updating them with the new li tags. Don't forget to save these as you go. There we go. So Control S to save. So what we've got now are all 4 pages linked up. Okay, so that's working well. So now that we've got those linked up, we can probably start styling our web page up. So over in brackets, what we're going to do is make a new document up. And before we start typing, we'll just go to File and Save As. Navigate through to your Queensland Firebirds folder, and we're going to save this document as style.css. Now to get started with our CSS, usually I change the background color, but I don't want to do that today. I just want to leave it as white. So I'm just going to leave it as is. What I'm going to style up first though is the font. So in the body section, open up your curly braces, and we're going to style up the font slightly different to what we've been doing in the past. Okay, in the past, we usually write font family and choose sans serif. Okay, now that works most of the time, but in today's tutorial I want to get a little bit more fancy. Okay, I want to choose an online font, something known as a web font. And what you can do is you can go to a website called Google Fonts. Just type in fonts.google.com as the address, and you can go and search Google Fonts for some cool fonts that you can use throughout your website. Now I found 2 different fonts that we're going to be using in today's website. For the body text, so the main part of the writing on our website, okay, let me just go to the home page and show you what I mean, like this section down here, the body text, we're going to be using a font called Muley. This is one I found on Google Fonts. This is how it looks. I think it's quite simple and easy to read. It looks fairly modern as well. So what I'm going to do, once I've found this Muley font, is I'm going to click Select this font. Okay, and down the bottom a little box appears that says Family Selected. Just click on that, and it gives you the code to put into your web page to use this particular font. So what we need to do is we need to copy this first piece of code here and put this into our HTML section. So I'm going to highlight that, Control C to copy it. Back in brackets, I'm going to go to my index page. Okay, and underneath my title here, I'm going to paste that in. Okay, it's usually where my style sheet links up. Okay, we'll do that in just a moment, but we're just going to put our link to that font in. I'm going to save that page and do it again on the other 3 pages. Just underneath the title, we're pasting in the link to that font. Alright, so that's done on all 4 pages and saved up. If we go back to that web page, you'll see down the bottom here it says specify in CSS. We need to copy this font family line of code as well. So Control C to copy that and put it into our style sheet. Okay, so in the body section, we just put in font family and then font family, and we write Muley. And as a backup font, so if the user's web browser doesn't want to display Muley for some reason, then we'll just revert back to our usual sans serif font. So we've got a backup font there just in case. Alright, on the next line, we'll just put line height as 1.5 EM like we usually do. And that ought to do us to get our font set up on our web pages. Now if I save that and go and preview it, it's not going to work yet because we haven't linked up our style sheet to these pages. Okay, so just remember how this font looks because it is going to change in a moment. Back over in your index HTML page, underneath title, I want you to link up your style sheet like you usually do. So link rel equals style sheet, and then href equals style.css. Close your pointy brackets. So that will now connect this HTML document to the style sheet. I want you to copy this line of code and paste it in on all of the other pages as well underneath the title. Making sure that you save each page as you go. Just press Ctrl S to save, remember, it's the shortcut. Alright, so let's go and have a look now, and you can see our font has changed. It's changed to that Muley font that we found on Google Fonts. Okay, I think it looks quite good. So that's made our font looking pretty good, a bit easier to read. So back in your style sheet, that's our body section all done. Next thing I want to do is style up our header section. Now the header section contains 2 parts. It's got this title, Queensland Firebirds, and it's also got our nav bar just here. Now Queensland Firebirds, I want to use a fancy font for that again. Okay, so what we're going to need to do there, is go back to Google Fonts, and we're looking for Fredoka 1. That's the name of the next font I want to use for the heading. So let's click select this font, and down the bottom where we got one family selected, let's copy the first chunk of code. So Control C to copy that, and go and put it into our HTML pages. Okay, so back on the index page, I'm just going to go underneath where I put that other font and paste that line of code in. That can be copied and pasted onto the other 3 pages as well in the same position. Okay, so this all comes inside the head section. Make sure you're pressing Ctrl S to save each page as well once you paste this in. Alright, so we've got 3 links now in all of our HTML pages. We've linked our style sheet up, and then we've linked to 2 fonts on the Google Fonts websites. We've got Muley and we've got Fredoka 1. Alrighty, so that's not going to change anything just yet, but we will get to that very shortly. Alright, so let's get this header section underway. The first thing we need to do for this header section is put a picture in the background. I'm going to have a big banner image in the background of my header. So the way we do that is we write in header, and we're going to write in background. Now usually we just choose a color for the background, but it's also possible to use photos. I don't usually recommend this because it's hard to read text on top of photos, but in today's case I think it's going to work. So to put a picture in, we need to write URL, and in brackets look in our images folder and select banner.jpg. Let's put a semicolon at the end of the line. If I save that now and go and preview it, you'll see that we've started to see a banner image appearing now in our header. Okay, it's not quite working how I want it to just yet, but it's a start. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change its size. So I'm going to write in background-size, and I'm going to choose cover. I'll save that, and you can see now that it fits our image across the page. Alrighty, coming in on the next line, I'm going to write text align as center. That just centers all the text down the middle there. I know it's a bit hard to see at the moment, but if I highlight it with my mouse, you'll see that we have got some text sitting on top of that photo. We will need to make it stand out shortly. And the font color, so we'll change that color to white and save it for now, and you can start to see that header a little bit better now. Okay, again, we're not finished yet, but we will finish that off in just a sec. Now I've noticed around the outside of this banner, this little white border. Okay, it's like a little margin around the outside of our page. I want to get rid of that. The way we get rid of that is we need to go back to our body tag up the top here, and we just simply write in margin and set it to 0. And if you save that and preview it, you'll see that that just gets rid of that little white border around the edges of our pages, and now that banner will stretch all the way to the edge. Alright, the next thing I want to do is set the height of this banner to about 350 pixels. So it's going to bring it down to roughly where this line is here. That way we'll be able to see the whole team in the photo up the top here. Okay. We also want to get this menu bar or nav bar sitting on one line, looking good. And Queensland Firebirds here, we want to get this text over on the left hand side here and make it a lot bigger than what it is now. So we've got quite a bit of styling to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my HTML, and I'm going to need to put in a few different class names to style up certain sections individually. So back in the index HTML page, find your header section. This is the current section that we're styling up. Okay, what we're going to need to do underneath the header is we're going to put in a div tag. Now div tag just stands for like a divider or a division on our page. So we're dividing up our page into little sections now. So I'm going to put in div, I'm going to write class equals, I'm just going to call it spacer. Close your pointy bracket. Now your closing div tag will appear. I want you to cut that out and paste it below the word Firebirds. Okay, you can indent Queensland Firebirds by highlighting it and pressing tab. So I've just added this in, div class equals spacer around Queensland Firebirds. Okay, now back in your style sheet, coming in underneath the header there, what we're going to do is we're going to style up that spacer. So we just write dot spacer, and we change the height to 350 pixels. Save it up, preview it, and you can see now our picture is 350 pixels in size, and we can see all the players in the team. For those netball followers out there, I know this picture is a little bit old and outdated, but it's the best I could find on Google Images. Okay, so let's just roll with it. Okay, so by putting in that class name called spacer, we were able to just resize this section to 350 pixels. Okay, going back to the HTML section now, we're going to style up the font for Queensland Firebirds here. Make it a bit bigger, bolder, and make it stand out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the next line and put in another div tag. This time the class name, so class equals, is going to be team name. And then I will close the pointy brackets. The closing div tag, cut it out, and again put it below the word Firebirds. Now you're going to have to just get your indentation right here. So we've just added in div class equals team name. In below that we've got Queensland Firebirds. It's been indented or pushed across a little bit. And then we've got the closing div tag again. That comes inside of the spacer div tag we put in a moment ago. I know it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully you've got it set out the same way as me. So what we can do now is we can head back to our style sheet and we can style up the team name. Okay, so we put in dot team name, open up our curly braces, and this is where we're going to put in that fancy font, remember, the Fredoka 1. So back over here, I'm going to copy this CSS section now, the font family. Come back into team name and paste that in. So the font family for our header is going to be Fredoka 1, and as a backup font we've got cursive chosen. Okay, just in case we can't display Fredoka 1 for some reason. The size for this is going to be quite large. Okay, I'm going to just choose pixels for this one, so I'm going to write 65 pixels. The line height, as always, 1.5 em. Text to line, I'm going to set to the left of the page. I want it to run down the left hand side of our header. We'll save that up and have a little look and see if it's working. Yep, so far so good. So you can see Fredoka 1 font is being used. Doesn't look too flashy. It's hugging the left of the page, and I think I want to bring this down a bit so it's more towards the center of the header as well. So let's do something about that. So what I might do is just put in a margin on the left hand side of 20 pixels. That'll just push it in 20 pixels from the left side of the page. And I'll also put some padding on top. So that's just a bit of space above the text. I'll put in 85 pixels there. If you save that and have a look, you can see it's pushed it in 20 pixels from the side and pushed it down 85 pixels, so it's roughly in the center of the image. To make this text stand out a little bit more, we just want to put a shadow behind it. So a nice dark black shadow. So still in the team name section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in text-shadow. Now we need to put the horizontal shadow in first, so I'm going to write in 5 pixels for that. Then we put in a space and do the vertical shadow. So I'll make that 5 pixels as well. The next setting we need to put in is how much we want to blur this shadow. So I'm going to blur it 5 pixels as well. And then the final setting we need to put in is the color. What color do we want this shadow to be? I want it to be dark, so I'm going to choose black. Press Ctrl S to save, and you should see now a little dark shadow behind that font to make it pop. Okay, so I'm really happy with how that looks. If I was to go to another page, okay, you can see that header section is not working. It's only working on the home page. And that's because, if I just go back to my index page for a sec, we've put in these div class names. So what I want you to do is I want you to copy underneath header, copy from div class equals spacer down to this closing div tag here. Highlight it, Control C to copy, go to the other pages and paste it in. Okay, so you've got to highlight Queensland Firebirds that are currently there and just paste over the top of it. And that will paste this section in over the top of it. Okay, do that for fixture as well. So highlight Queensland Firebirds, paste in over the top of it and save. Do the same just here. Copy, paste, save. Now we should see each page looking the same. Okay, so that header's looking a lot better. Alright, so we've got that font looking sweet. Next thing we might do is style up our menu bar or our nav bar here, make it look good. So back in our style sheet, underneath team name, let's put in a UL, which stands for unordered list, which is our nav bar. What we're going to do is we're going to put in 10 pixels of padding around each we're going to put in 10 pixels of padding around the entire list that we've got there. And we're also going to change the background color. So just write the word background. Now for this you could write something like purple. Okay, that's going to look a bit dodgy. Alright, so you can see the 10 pixels of padding around the outside of it. We just need to work on this color. What I'm going to do is, where I've got the word purple, I'm going to go to quick edit. So right click on it, click quick edit. In the quick edit box, click this RGBA. Okay, and that stands for red, green, blue. And the A stands for the alpha, or how transparent your color is going to be. So I want the transparency to be about 0.75. Okay, the actual color, I want these values to be 38, 0, and 83. Okay, so I'll just close that box off now. As you can see, it's going to be like a dark purple kind of color. So we've got the RGBA setting in, and in brackets 38, 0, 83, 0.75. Okay, that last number there is the transparency. So it's only 3/4 visible. If we save that up and preview it now, that's how our, actually I'll just click off it for a sec. That's how our nav bar is looking. Okay, not great, but it's coming together. We just need to change the color of this font. Alright, so outside of the unordered list, what we're going to do now is style up each individual list item. So each individual link. So put in the li tag. I'm going to change the display to inline, which brings all the text together on one line. Okay, again, hard to see, but if I highlight it, you'll see it's all there on one line. And we're going to put in some padding around each of those links. So padding will be for the top 0 pixels, for the right hand side 30 pixels, for the bottom 0 pixels, and then 30 pixels on the left side. I don't think you need commas in there actually, so just leave those commas out. So 0 pixels padding on the top and bottom, 30 pixels padding on the right and left side of each button. Put a semicolon and save that and have a look. If I just highlight these, you can see now each button's got a bit of space between them. So that's our list items styled up and looking good. Let's style up our A tags now, which is our hyperlinks. What we're going to do is change the color to white. And we're going to change the text decoration to none. That gets rid of the underline from our hyperlinks and makes the text in our hyperlinks white. So now when we go and have a preview, you can see that our nav bar is completely visible now. One thing I would like to do is when I hover over each of these links, I want them to change color so the user knows which one they're going to click on. Just adds a bit of interactivity to the page. So coming in below this A tag, we're going to write a.hover. Open up the curly braces. And in a.hover, actually it's not dot, it's colon, sorry. So it's a:/hover. And we just want to change its color. So right in color. And I want you to choose like a light purple or a kind of pinky color. So I'm just going to use hexadecimal value of CC7 CEA semicolon. If you hover over that, you can see it's like that lilac-y kind of color. Save it up, preview it, hover over those buttons, and you can see that they change color now. So that's got our header section completely finished off. Alright, that's looking pretty sweet. This video seems to be going a bit longer than I would have liked, so what we might have to do is split this CSS section up into 2 videos. So I'll do a little bit more now, and then we'll stop and come back and finish it off in one final video. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do in this video is this text, instead of having it stretch all the way across the page, I'm going to make it come in towards the center a bit more. Okay, and not go all the way to the edges. So that section is actually the article section that we're styling up there. So I'm going to style up the article section next in my style sheet. And I'm going to set its max width to 768 pixels. Now that seems like a random number. Why did I choose that number? Well, that's about the size of an iPad screen or a tablet screen. Okay, so if our text stretches about that far, then that would mean it looks good on an iPad screen. So if we save that up and have a look, you can see now it doesn't fill up the entire page. It does look a bit funny there on the left, so I might center it in just a moment. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is simply write in margin 0 space auto. It's a weird way of centering the text, but that's what it does. The other thing I might do as well is just put in some padding. I'm going to put in 20 pixels padding around that text. Now if you have a look, oops, I'll just click off it so it's not selected. You see it puts our text in the middle of the page and it's got a bit of padding around the top and the bottom. Okay, it's probably not going to look as pretty on some of those other pages, but you're getting the idea. Next thing I might style up is this H2 header on each page. A little bit small for my liking, so I might make it a bit bigger to make it stand out. So I'll just come down a little bit lower here and write in my H2 tag. And in H2, we'll just make the font size, we'll make it 2.5 EM. So it's 2.5 times its usual size. Yeah. Oops, I'll click off it. You see that makes it a bit bigger, which looks a lot nicer. Okay, scrolling down this image here, definitely too big, so let's resize it by putting in the image tag, opening up curly braces, and we'll set its max width, we'll say to 700 pixels. It's a little bit smaller than what the text was. We'll just save that and have a look. There we go, so that looks a bit better. There's a bit of a gap between the picture and the text there that I might close up a little bit. And I can do that by changing the margin dash top to -5%. Okay, that's all we need to style up on that image. It's probably going to look a little bit ugly at the moment. It's probably a little bit too close to that text. That's alright, we'll fix him up. Just give it a little bit more space shortly. Alright, so that is all good for now. Next thing I might do, probably the last thing I'll do in this video, over on the team page here, these pictures here need some styling. Okay, they're way too big. We have to scroll across to see them all, and even then they still don't fit in the one page. So we want to make them a lot smaller, get them to fit in the page. Okay, because I styled up this image to be 700 pixels wide, and these ones over here have started to style up in a similar sort of manner, because they're all image tags. So we're going to have to give these ones a class name or a unique name, so we just style these up, and it won't affect this picture here. Okay, so this will make more sense when we actually do it. So pop over to your team page for me. And in the team page, I want you to scroll down and find where your table starts. Okay, so that's about here. What we're going to do, inside the image tag here, so you'll see image source equals Caitlin Nevins, you've got your alternate text. After your alternate text that says Caitlin Nevins, we're just going to put in a space and write class equals player. We need to give these images their own unique class name so we can style them up and it won't affect any other images in our document. So copy and paste class equals player onto each of those 4 players, and then go down the bottom and do it again for the other 4 players. Okay, so now we can go to our style sheet and we can style up just that class. Alright, so let me just excuse me, get this up. So image dot player, that's what we need to style up. Open up your curly braces. We're going to set their width to 150 pixels, so a lot smaller than what the other one is. The height we're going to set to 225 pixels, and we're going to get rid of the margin at the top of each image, and we're going to set it to 0. Okay, at the moment the margin at the top of each image is -5%. We don't want that on these images of the players, so we just set it back to 0. We save that up now and go and have a look. You can see that these girls' images are a lot smaller, so 150 pixels each, and they fit nicely onto one page. Okay, the last thing we want to do is when we hover over their image, we want it to zoom in, have a little bit of an effect on them. Alright, so back in the team page here, inside the TD tags for each of these images, we need to put another class name. So TD class equals zoom. Okay, we're going to put a zoom effect in here. I'm going to copy that and paste it on the first 4 images inside the TD section. Then down here, where we've got these other images, just want you to paste that into the TD section. So TD class equals zoom. Alright, and from there what we can do is now make a zoom effect over in our style sheet. Okay, we're getting a bit advanced now. It's not too tricky though. So write td.zoom, open up our curly brace, and we're going to put in a transition. It's going to be a transform transition, and it's going to take 0.2 of a second to take place. So when we actually roll over these pictures, it's going to take 0.2 seconds for the transition to take place. Okay, I also want to quickly get these pictures centered inside the table, so I might just write margin 0 auto. That'll center the images inside our table. Now coming in below that, outside the curly braces, we're going to write zoom, dot zoom, colon, hover. So this basically says what we're going to do when we hover over the image. And what we want to do is we want to transform it. We're going to choose scale, and then brackets will type in how much we want to scale it up. So we'll do 1.15. So that will grow just slightly bigger than what it currently is. Put a semicolon, save it up, and that there is your transition or zoom effect when you hover over the top of the player's images. Okay, so it'll take 0.2 of a second to occur. We're simply scaling our picture up 1.15 times its usual size. Whoops, so just saving that and going to test it. Hover over the pictures. You can see that they grow 1.15 times their usual size. Alrighty, so that will do us in this video. I've been babbling on for about half an hour now. We'll come back in one final video and finish this CSS off, and we should have a sweet looking website by the time we're finished.